Now, we just have a few minutes left, and so we're going to go very quickly through the gift of healing. I intentionally spent most of our time this morning on the gift of tongues. But when we look at the gift of healing, we see again that the modern charismatic version of the gift of healing does not match the miraculous healing ministries of Jesus and the apostles. So if we were to discuss perhaps descriptions of the biblical gift of healing, we would see that New Testament healings did not depend on the recipient's faith. We would see that New Testament healings were complete, permanent, and 100% effective. We would see, thirdly, that New Testament healings were undeniable and that they cured real diseases and disabilities. In fact, the Pharisees, who hated Jesus, couldn't deny his miracles. The best they could do was try and distort the source of the power behind his miracles, which of course they did in Matthew chapter 12. New Testament healings were immediate. They were instantaneous. Now, there were occasions where Jesus healed in stages, but it was only a matter of moments before the person was completely well. So we can say that New Testament healings were immediate in their effectiveness. And then finally, New Testament healings were not prearranged. We don't need a stadium where we can emotionally manipulate people in order to heal them of psychosomatic diseases. No, in the course of everyday life, Jesus goes to Peter's house, his mother-in-law is sick, Jesus heals her. So there's no screeners at the stage keeping people with real disabilities and diseases off. Jesus heals anybody and everybody. You can see then that when modern faith healers excuse their inability to heal on a lack of faith on the part of the sick person, or when their healings are not successful, or when their supposed successes don't stand up under scrutiny from medical professionals, or when they claim their healings take place over a long period of time, or when they limit their miracle crusades to tightly controlled and highly manipulated events, they show just how far short they fall of the biblical standard. Here's John Wimber. This is an article that appeared in Christianity Today called Signs, Wonders, and Cancer, because John Wimber was diagnosed with cancer. He says this: sometimes our experiences don't fit with our understanding of what the Bible teaches. That should be a red flag, by the way. On the one hand, we know that God is sovereign and that he sent Jesus to commission us to pray for and heal the sick. On the other hand, we know from experience that healing does not always occur. Why would God command us to heal the sick and then choose not to back up our act by not healing the person for whom we pray? This can be downright discouraging, as I learned years ago in my own congregation when I began to teach on healing. It was 9 months before we saw the first person healed. Well, Wimber is right to be frustrated, but he fails to recognize the real problem. It is his misguided understanding of the miraculous gift of healing itself, and his misguided impression that he somehow possesses that gift that leads to the disconnect in his life. So you can see then that there's a massive disconnect between the way that the New Testament describes miraculous healing and the way in which the modern charismatic version expresses itself. Now, to be fair, conservative continuationists generally define the gift of healing as simply praying for people with the gift of faith and trusting God to answer that prayer. I would respond by saying, as a cessationist, I also believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God can heal people through prayer. That's just not the New Testament miraculous gift of healing. That's not the type of healing that is exhibited in the ministries of Jesus and the apostles. So they're using the terminology, but it's not the same thing. Now, we've seen that the gift of prophecy was authoritative revelation from God accurately declared by the prophet. We've seen that the gift of tongues was the ability to supernaturally speak a human foreign language that you had never gone to school to learn. And the gift of healing, as illustrated by Christ and the apostles, was the ability to lay hands on people and pronounce them healed. And the result was 100% effective, complete, immediate, undeniable, and not prearranged. And that is simply not happening today. So, if we were to compare, is prophecy revelation from God which is accurate and authoritative, or is prophecy revelation from God which is inaccurate, non-authoritative, full of mistakes and full of errors? We would say that version is not the true version of prophecy. Tongues. Is tongues the miraculous ability to speak in previously unlearned human foreign languages? Or is tongues, again, for lack of a better word, is tongues gibberish? No, we would reject that form of tongues. Healing. Is healing the miraculous ability of a person with the gift to impart immediate and complete healing to people who were sick, like Jesus and the apostles did? Or is healing either a claim to heal based on the sick person's faith or a redefinition of healing simply as answers to prayer? No, we would reject that definition. Though charismatics claim to possess the gifts of prophecy, tongues, and healing, a comparison of their experiences with the biblical reality demonstrates that the charismatic version of these gifts consists of something other than the real thing.